Now let me make you clear about the optic pathway, that ultimately it starts with the retina, from where the vision starts, retina. So the light falls on the retina. Clear? Here is the choroid, which you can see. I'll change the laser. So this is the choroid. These are pigment cells. Here, the pigment cells, pigment part of the retina. And this is the nervous layer of the retina. This is the nervous layer of the retina. There are different types of cells in the nervous layer. Okay. So the light travels through whole retina and falls on the pigment layer and then scattered. Clear? Then it stimulates these particular cells. These cells are the rods and the cones. Rods and the cones. Clear? Rods are rod shaped, cones are cone shaped, based on shape. Physiologists will explain you whole theory of the photoreception. So it is not my job, but I will explain to you just as how this will continue as orders of neurons. Clear? So this is the first order neuron. Clear? Which is the bipolar neurons. This is the sensory receptor. This is the receptor. And the neuron is here. This is the first neuron, which is the bipolar cells. Bipolar has two poles. This is the two poles. It's a type of a neuron, as you know very well. So it's a bipolar neuron, and name is bipolar cell, retinal bipolar cells. So this is the first order neuron. Then it will relay, and there are different other cells, but ultimately it will relay to the ganglion cells. So ganglion cells are second order neurons. These cells will go to the geniculate body, which we'll see in the next picture. So geniculate body, and the neurons of geniculate body are third order neuron, and they will finally end into the visual cortex in occipital lobe of cerebrum. So the cell is rods and cones. The rods are responsible for low light vision, low light, dim light vision, and cones are responsible for bright, high luminous light and color vision. Color vision cones, black and white, dim light vision, rods. Clear? So this is what is about the rods and cones. I already explained with the macula, the number of cones are more in macula. So our color vision and the visual acuity is more at the macula. So this is what is about it. And periphery of the retina will have predominance of the rods. So all the light will fall in the dim light, will whole way goes into the all around into the retina, and you can have something of that dark light vision, dim light vision, I can call it, dim light vision, low luminosity. So this is what is the job of these two different type of cells. Then they relate to this particular cells. This is our first order neuron. This is a receptor, and then the order of neuron starts. Then first, second order, third in geniculate body, and then it ends into the cerebrum. So already I explained, but this part is blind spot we discussed, okay, when we were discussing about the ophthalmoscope. So when the optic nerve exits from the eyeball, there is no rods and cones there, and that is why that area has no sensory sensations for light. We call it blind spot, because the optic nerve develops directly from the brain. It's not like other cranial nerves. It's cranial nerve which is forming directly as an extension of the brain. That's why the myelination of the optic nerve is done by oligodendrocytes, not Schwann cell. While other nerves, they are like peripheral nerves, and then they will be, their myelination is done by Schwann cell. So this is the one of the unique feature you should remember for optic nerve. So optic nerve is like extension of the brain. Okay, whole retina is a part of extension of the brain, and it contains some of the meningeal covering also. That's why raised intracranial tension will compress the optic nerve, and that is also causing some of the edema into the eyeball. Raised intracranial pressure causes the edema into the retina. Fundoscopy, you can see these things. So this is what is about the some of the important fact. So this is what is starting with the cells. We started with the cells. So optic nerve starts with the ganglionic layer of the retina. So that's the second order neuron from where the optic nerve is formed. Clear? And then they will exit from the eyeball, which is 3 millimeters medial to the anteroposterior point. That is macula. So it is that point I have shown you in the fundoscopy. Then this particular optic nerve passes through the optic canal, and then join with the opposite side to form the cross-like thing, which is known as optic chiasma. Now I will not read this particular material which is written here. Let's go to the picture and understand how the light travels and impulses goes into this particular pathway, because this is the most interesting part of this pathway. So here you can see that this part is our field of vision. This is the field of vision, and the light falls on the retina. Okay, so I have two circles here. Okay, this is with two different colors, you can see. This is the one side, the red color, another side is the blue color. So I have two field of visions, two circles. Let me draw a circle for you to just make understand. So our field of vision is here, this one, another one here. I'm just making a circle just to make you aware. This is the field of vision, and from temporal part of the field of vision, the light will fall on nasal part of the retina of the same, and this one, nasal field of the vision, will go to the temporal part of the retina of the opposite. Okay, so now we follow the fibers, how they go. Field of vision falls opposite. So temporal part, so like myself looking here, and I will close this eye, I have one circle. That is my field of vision. This is my field of vision, temporal field of vision. And this one is nasal field of vision. Okay, the temporal field of vision will fall on this eye. Okay, nasal part of retina. And nasal part of the field of vision will fall on temporal part of this retina. So it is like this, the way the arrow goes. And this side will go this way. So this will fall on the same side, nasal retina, and opposite side, temporal retina. Okay, so light will fall like this. So now the fibers in the retina, when they are traveling in the optic nerve, is here. Now they are traveling here. This is optic nerve. If this optic nerve is cut, whatever is circle for me will be blind. Okay, so this particular circle is blind. Okay, so that is what is about the total blindness if the optic nerve is damaged. Okay, so this particular is the injury to the optic nerve. So now let's understand that after this optic nerve, it goes to the optic chiasma. But in the chiasma, total crossing of the fibers do not take place. Total crossing of the fibers do not take place. Nasal part of the fibers crosses, and temporal side fibers goes in the same side, goes to the same side here, right? So what happened? Because of this optic tract and the further continuation of the fibers, we'll have a complete half of the field of the visions like this. Got it? So one side of the vision means both have half of the vision. We call it field of the vision is half. Nasal field and temporal, nasal and temporal. So this side on the left hemisphere, this side on the right hemisphere. Vision, I am talking of this. When you take a field of vision, it is divided in two parts by vertical line. Temporal half of the field of vision, nasal half of the field of the vision. Okay, so this is how the optic chiasma is important to know, that the fibers from nasal part of retina crosses over, and temporal part of the retina will remain on the same side like this, and then they continue in the optic tract. If the only one side of the optic nerve is damaged, one side here, suppose you cut it, so this is the eye, okay, and I've closed the eye, clear, one circle will be black, complete blindness, we call it complete blindness of that eye. Why? Because it is a uniocular vision. When I open the eye, now this eye can see some part of the vision. That's why when you want to test the lesion, we do occlusion of one eye and then test by a perimetry and see how my field of vision is there for each eye. Okay, so damage to optic nerve, complete blindness on that side, whatever is the side, left, right side. But optic chiasma, different. So now you understand optic chiasma, that fibers of nasal side of retina crosses. Means, now I'm asking a question if you understand what I explained. Means now, I'm asking a question that if the optic chiasma is damaged, understand the question. If the optic chiasma is damaged, clear, which part of the field of vision will be lost? Which part of the field of vision will be lost? Both, but which half of the field? Lateral, yes, you're right. Lateral part of both the field of vision is there. Total blindness, no. Because optic chiasma in the center, if it is damaged, optic chiasma in the center, if it is damaged, both the lateral side of my field of vision will be lost. Hussein is right. So both the lateral. We call lateral, not lateral in visual path, we call temporal. Temporal field of vision will be lost. Temporal field of vision, because nasal retinal fibers are damaged and optic chiasma is the center. Let's understand that just below this optic chiasma, what is there is the third ventricle, and below it is the pituitary gland. So here's a pituitary gland and here's the optic chiasma. The pituitary tumors, when the tumor grows, it will tease the optic chiasma in the center and split into two parts. So when it's splitted, the nasal fibers are damaged, not the lateral fibers, except the tumor is coming from lateral side. But usually the pituitary tumor growing from below will split the fibers of the optic chiasma in the center, means this point. So we have already explained, if optic nerve is damaged, total blindness on that side. Now we are talking of this point. Damage to optic chiasma in the center, which is common in pituitary tumors. It is seen. So the patient will have a damage to the fibers. Temporal is the one which crosses in the chiasma. So yes, temporal side is the one which crosses. Okay, means you said means temporal side of the vision, which is nasal half of the retina. Always remember, when you are talking of retina, you say nasal half of the retina fibers crosses, not nasal field of vision. And when we say field of vision, we say temporal field of the vision. Temporal field of the vision is falling on the nasal part of the retina. So fibers crossing in the optic chiasma are the fibers coming from the nasal part of retina, which is the temporal field of the vision. Bitemporal field of the vision, both the side temporal field of vision. Clear? That is clear? So this is how ultimately temporal field of the vision. So don't get confused with two terms, retina and field of vision. So when we say nasal half of the retina crosses, means we are talking of temporal field of vision crossing. But when you are trying to understand the effect, then I will test the field of vision. So when the optic chiasma is damaged in the center, the field of vision in both the temporal side will be lost. Temporal side of field of vision. Okay, temporal side of the field of vision is lost. So I will call it bitemporal, because circle is half. So we call it hemi, because it is only temporal. Nasal half is normal for the field of vision. So it is bitemporal, hemi, half. N means loss, opia means vision. So I'm connecting now words. Bitemporal, hemi, and opia. Bitemporal, hemi, and opia. Loss of both the side temporal field of vision, clear, which is a half of the field of the vision. So this is what is the terminology used for the damage to the optic chiasma. What is the condition? Bitemporal, hemi, and opia. What happens to the patient? His temporal field of the vision is lost, both the side. Why? Because the temporal field of vision falling on nasal part of retina and fibers of the nasal part of retina crosses as optic chiasma. This is the key. Try to understand whole chain of events. Temporal field falls on nasal part of retina. Fibers of nasal part of retina crosses at optic chiasma. Damage to optic chiasma in the center. Fibers are damaged, which is nasal half of the retina, means temporal half of the field. So patient will have a loss of both the side temporal half of the retina, known as bitemporal hemianopia. So I finished second applied of this particular pathway, which is already present in the applied aspect. So we are covering here. So when it comes up, I have to just say that you can see what we discussed. Okay. So thereafter, the fibers continues. Thereafter, the fibers continues, and I already explained the relation of optic chiasma. Do remember, third ventricle, and just below it is the pituitary gland, and it is damaged in pituitary tumors. Then this particular optic tract is formed from posterolateral aspect of the retina. Posterolateral aspect of the optic chiasma. Then it crosses this cerebral peduncle. It's a part of the midbrain. It crosses here, and then it relays into the lateral geniculate body. This is the lateral geniculate body. This is part of the hypothalamus. Lateral geniculate body is a part of hypothalamus. So fibers relay into this. This lateral geniculate body is just behind the pulvinar of the thalamus. Thalamus is a posterior bulging part. It's a pulvinar. And just below the pulvinar, you see an elevation. One medial and one lateral. Lateral is lateral geniculate body. It's a relay station of the optic pathway. And medial is medial geniculate body. It's a relay station of auditory pathway. So both the pathways has relay station in geniculate body. Vision and hearing. Hearing pathway in medial geniculate body and visual pathway in lateral geniculate body. So that is the relay station, lateral geniculate body. It is just behind the pulvinar of thalamus. Pulvinar of thalamus is a bulging part, posterior part of the thalamus. And lateral geniculate body is a part of hypothalamus. And thalamus and hypothalamus is part of diencephalon. Clear? So this is the relay station of the visual pathway. In the geniculate body, there are 6 layers. Okay, and from there, the axons will go to the visual cortex, and that particular part from where they travel, clear? This one is known as optic radiation. It can be seen in horizontal section of the brain. Horizontal section of the brain. You can see there is an internal capsule, V-shaped internal capsule, and in the posterior part there is optic radiation. You can see white line here of the optic radiation in a horizontal section of the brain. It can be seen. In one of my video in the YouTube, I have a horizontal section of the brain. You can see, and retrolentiform part of internal capsule is shown. Internal capsule is the fibers connecting the cerebrum to different centers. And that is there are different parts of internal capsule, and the retrolentiform part, it's behind the lentiform nucleus, is the optic radiation. And below the lentiform nucleus, sublentiform part, it is the auditory radiation for hearing. So this is correlated. So here is the optic radiation. That is the fibers from geniculate body going to the visual cortex. And visual cortex is located into the occipital lobe. Visual cortex is located into the, or visual area is located into the occipital lobe. And the physiologists call it by number, Brodmann's area number. Brodmann is the name of the person. So Brodmann's area number 17. So this is the area number 17. It is just above and below the calcarine sulcus. Calcarine sulcus is a sulcus on the medial surface of the cerebrum. I think it might have been covered in the cerebrum by Dr. Habib. Clear, medial surface. It shows the different sulci and gyri. This is the parieto-occipital sulcus. This is the calcarine sulcus. Above and below the calcarine sulcus is the visual area. It is area number 17. And there is the visual association area is area number 18 and 19. They are keeping all memories of our previous vision. Clear, whatever we have seen, our video recording is stored in the hard drive. What is that hard drive? It is the area number 18 and 19. And where the vision is identified, it is area number 17. So 17 is responsible for identification, and 18 and 19 is responsible for storage. And when the new image comes up, clear, it correlates with the previous image which is already stored. So this is its job. So when you are seeing on the video, you know, oh, this is Dr. Gosai because you have seen me previously. It is already there in your database. And when you see this video again back, you know this is the person we have already seen. So when you go by car and you are seeing a particular destination, and when next time you are traveling, you know this pole is here, the building is here, that mall is on the left side, like this, because it's already stored in that particular association areas. Okay, so this is what is about the areas. Yes, the area number, primary area is number 17, and that is all physiology, right? You understand. So these people will teach you how this particular Brodmann's area number, and we call it by visual area, auditory area, motor area, secondary sensory area, primary sensory area, like this. Okay, so this is what is about the final destination of the optic pathway. So this finishes our optic pathway starting from retina till the visual cortex. But in the visual cortex, how the retina is represented, this is important. Another one, clear. Already we mentioned the right half of the field of vision of both the side is on the left side of the visual cortex, and left half of the field of vision is on the right side of the visual cortex. So like this on the right, left, this on the right, on the left. So it crosses, but in different way. How? Same, because the field of vision is in particular arrangement at the optic chiasm. So that's why your half are arranged like this. That is what is the principle of binocular vision. Okay, so this is what happens. One more thing also, but it is a little bit more detailed, but it is mentioned in your presentation. So I would like to just mention that the retina has a quadrants: upper quadrant, lower quadrant, medial quadrant, lateral quadrant. Medial, lateral we explained, and that's what is the principle of common disease there. Okay, but the upper quadrant and lower quadrant of retina. So now again, you should not confuse. Lower quadrant of retina means upper field of the vision. Okay, upper field of the vision. It falls on the lower part of the calcarine sulcus, below the calcarine sulcus, in the lower part. Yeah. So lower quadrant of retina falls on lower part of the sulcus, means upper field of vision is in the lower part of the calcarine sulcus, and lower field of the vision is in the upper part of the calcarine sulcus. So this is little bit detailed, but it is mentioned. Do remember. Maybe somebody wants to make a tricky question, it can be made by this particular statement. Clear? So do remember, lower part of the retina, clear, in the lower part of the calcarine sulcus, means upper field of the vision is in the lower part of the calcarine sulcus, and lower field of the vision is in the upper part of the calcarine sulcus, or upper retinal field in the upper part of the calcarine sulcus. Clear? So do remember this statement. I have a picture also there. Let me see somebody else's question. So this finishes as far as our okay. So I will explain the names of the parts of the thalamus and hypothalamus. So what happens is that the thalamus is the part which is diencephalon, largest part of diencephalon. Clear? And the hypothalamus is below the thalamus. That's why it's named hypothalamus. And hypothalamus has different nuclei, hypothalamic nuclei. And out of them, some are very large, and it can be seen, like mammillary body, which you have seen on the base of the brain. Mammillary body is a hypothalamic nucleus. Clear? Geniculate body, clear? They are also part of this particular nucleus. There is a pineal gland, which is known as epithalamus. Okay, so this is what is different parts of the thalamus and hypothalamus. And thalamus and hypothalamus together is known as diencephalon. Clear? So thalamus and hypothalamus is like, suppose I want to draw. Let me see. Let's use this bottom. So if you cut the brain in the midline, you will find that this is the big thalamus seen on the medial surface of the cerebrum. This is the big surface of the cerebrum. There is a small sulcus here, below the thalamus, and whatever is below this is hypothalamus. Clear? And in the hypothalamus, you find this optic chiasma. It is part of hypothalamic sulcus. Then you find the infundibulum for pituitary gland. Then you find a mammillary body. Here, mammillary body. Then your midbrain will start like this. Clear? At the bottom of this is the pulvinar of thalamus. Just behind it, there is a pineal gland. It is the epithalamus. Pineal gland, epithalamus. And below this pulvinar, we have geniculate bodies. Medial geniculate body, lateral geniculate body. And this is the thalamus, the biggest part. Clear? And these all are hypothalamic part. This is epithalamus. There is small subthalamic nucleus also, subthalamus. Metathalamus is, some people consider this geniculate bodies as metathalamus. Clear? So this is what is about the parts of diencephalon. So diencephalon is thalamus, hypothalamic structures, clear, geniculate bodies, and subthalamic nucleus, and the pineal gland, and a small habenular nucleus. There are a lot of things, but I don't want you to confuse. I want you to keep two main things in your mind, that thalamus and hypothalamus. And hypothalamus has various nuclei. Clear? So this is how it looks like in medial section of the brain. Again, I am just telling you that some of the dissection video I have explained, or some of the model of our college also I has explained this part, the hypothalamic structures and thalamus, and it has been pointed and shown. Okay, so it is on the Ojwensa video channel, our channel. Previously I used to keep some videos, then I stopped, then I am starting to just put some good videos if I can do, and if I can spare some time. But whatever best I can do, I will do. But have a look of these things, and it will make your point clear. But this is about the thalamus and hypothalamus. Lacrimal fossa is the term used for two different things. Lacrimal fossa for the lacrimal gland, and there is lacrimal fossa for lacrimal sac. Lacrimal fossa for lacrimal gland, you have to make a full complete statement. Otherwise, people will get confused. If you say lacrimal fossa, then it means two things. Either you are explaining about lacrimal gland fossa, or you are explaining about the lacrimal sac fossa. Okay, so you have to make a full term, that lacrimal fossa for lacrimal gland and lacrimal fossa for lacrimal sac. Lacrimal fossa for lacrimal gland are superlateral part of the orbit, and lacrimal fossa for lacrimal sac is for the medial side of the orbit. Clear? So let's move further. So is it clear about thalamus, hypothalamus, and other parts? I explained about the how the pathway goes, clear, and how the binocular vision also. Now let's understand the last part, that when this particular fibers are damaged here, or it can be damaged here, or it can be damaged here, all will have a same effect. All will have a same effect, because as you can see, there is nothing changed here. It is the same color, but it is continuing further up to this destination. So anywhere damage to optic tract or optic radiation or visual cortex, the patient will develop loss of opposite side, whatever is the side of the lesion. Suppose we are talking of left hemisphere, left optic tract or left optic radiation damage, then patient has a loss of opposite field of vision, So temporal of the left and nasal field of vision of right, or temporal field of the right and nasal field of the left, half. So we call it contralateral, similar, homonymous, half, hemi, anopia, loss of vision. Let me flip to the last part of the picture for the clinical, and then we'll discuss this one. See, this is for the right side. So left half of the field of vision, same, the last part, I am talking of C. We call it contralateral, homonymous hemianopia. So, because those fibers, you track the fibers in the pathway, you will find exactly the field of vision is this. Because the retina receiving fibers from this are damaged. So if it is in optic chiasma center, bitemporal hemianopia. if it is optic tract, optic chiasma, or optic radiation, or visual cortex, optic tract, optic radiation, and visual cortex, contralateral homonymous hemianopia. It is damage to these particular areas. And you can see what is the area.